Hello my viewers and welcome back to my channel. Subscribe because you will find my videos both interesting and intriguing. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up by tapping on the like button, and feel free to be part of this conversation by sharing your thoughts in the comment section at the end of the video. Now in today's video we are going to be talking about a troubling phenomenon that plagues discussions of race and feminism: the weaponization of palm color women's tears. Now far too often palm color women use their tears as a tool to manipulate and silence Black people and people of color, particularly Black individuals. And we have been seeing this for the longest time. And I feel it's time to shine a light on this insidious tactic and explore its harmful consequences for marginalized communities. So with that said, join me as we dissect the dynamics of palm color women's tears and call out the audacity behind their actions. Check out these videos as different people share their thoughts on what they think about this topic, including some honest palm color people who also took time to confront this uncomfortable truth. I will be right back.
Listen, babe, I hate to be the one to break this to you, but there is something that we white women walk around with that women of the global majority do not, and it is audacity. There are literally entire accounts on the internet dedicated to demonstrating just how much white women think that they're invincible and have no fear. The very audacity that drives us to do things like call the manager all the time, harass gas station attendants, call the cops on Black children, that is the same audacity that drives us to think that we can pet wolves and save bats. We do a stellar job at upholding the patriarchy. We will gladly center ourselves in discussions around feminism, failing to realize that we are not the most qualified to speak on oppression in this society. And anytime somebody decides to match our audacity and call us out for doing this, we pull out the white woman tears, the white woman guilt. You know, what's really funny is back in the day, when slavery was happening, white women would do this thing where we would engage in consensual relationships with Black men, but when we got caught, we would turn around and accuse them of rape. Because, you know, we can't be caught slumming like that on purpose. The thing about white women is, in general, we are not humble. We enjoy our nice little cushy place at the top of the social hierarchy that we didn't earn, by the way. We get placed at the top of the hierarchy in society not because we're genuinely better people, but because we were born into the right skin tone. You know what I'm saying? And I know that from these nice little cushy positions, we think we're protected from things like criticism and responsibility and accountability and certain forms of oppression. But times are a-changing, baby. Slowly but surely, white people are no longer enjoying the privilege of being the default. You know what I mean? White people don't like the idea of being classified into a group that actually has like responsibility in society. We really love to walk around like, oh my God, what could I possibly do wrong? I'm white. Like, please don't talk about my skin tone. Like, let's just grow up, honey. We are a part of a group, and we have some very specific characteristics associated with that group. It's okay for us to humble ourselves and make fun of ourselves, and maybe have a little bit of self-awareness too. That doesn't hurt either. Making fun of myself as a white woman does not mean that I hate myself. It means that I'm humble and honest and self-aware enough to realize that I am part of a class of people. I am part of a group. That group has a specific set of characteristics, which is hilarious. And other people are going to make fun of us for this. The same way that white people have been making fun of everybody else for having group characteristics since the dawn of white supremacy.
This trend needs to stop. If you did it and you didn't realize, whatever. But it's not about you being able to cry on command because you're such a good actress. It's about you being able to cry on command and white women's tears being used as weapons against Black and Indigenous people of color for literal centuries. White women's tears are what got Emmett Till murdered. White women's tears are what started the Tulsa Massacre. None of that is your fault personally, but you are here practicing your white women's tears on your phone and making other people watch and showing satisfaction in how good you are at fake crying.
White women are often dangerous perpetrators of anti-Blackness. Many see themselves as exempt from perpetuating violence because of their womanhood. However, many white women use this femininity to cause problems for Black individuals. When thinking and talking about white woman tears, Dr. Moya Bailey's Misogynoir Transformed, and the essay Mammies, Matriarchs, and Other Controlling Images by Dr. Patricia Hill Collins are helpful reads. The concept of white woman tears is convoluted because it's layered. One must reflect on the historical context, the racial context, and the gender context, as well as how these three work together to create unique violence against Black people. If you are in a situation where you as a white person feel threatened, interrogate that feeling and ask yourself where it's coming from. Are you really being threatened, or are you being held accountable and it's uncomfortable? Emotion regulation is anti-racist work. If you cannot regulate your emotions, you don't have the capacity to hear the stories of other people, specifically people of color.
They want our people dead! They want us killed!
I want to read you guys a quote by Ruby Hamid in her book, White Tears, Brown Scars, How White Feminism Betrays Women of Color. And Ruby is a Syrian Lebanese journalist. It is crucial to understand what we are talking about when we talk about white tears. The kind of distress we are analyzing may well feel genuine, but it is neither legitimate nor innocent. Rather than denoting weakness, it signals power. Though white fragility is triggered by discomfort and anxiety, it is born of superiority and entitlement. White fragility is not weakness. It is a powerful means of white racial control and the protection of white advantage. And to quote Robin DiAngelo in her book White Fragility, when a certain group is in control, they therefore have the ability to control the narrative and decide when something is discriminatory or not, and who is being affected.
So I had a lot of white people in my comments asking, what happens if I cry after being called out for a racist remark or microaggression? And what happens if I'm super emotional? So let's get into it. I'd first like to pose a genuine question to white people. Why are you crying after being called out? Take a minute, think about it, pause. Now that you're back, I'm gonna guess that you're crying probably because you're feeling a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, probably a little bit of anger at yourself, maybe some sadness. Yeah, like am I somewhere on the base? And those are totally valid emotions to have, like 100%. Like you can have those emotions. It is simply none of our business. As people of color, after you heard us, it is literally none of our business what emotions you're feeling. And you have to work that out on your own. What happens after you commit a microaggression or you make a racist remark? Us as people of color, we're hurt. We're human, so we're hurting and we're in distress. And what we need you to do is to listen to how you harmed us and need you to listen to how we are doing. And you just need to shut up and listen that whole entire time. And what we're not gonna do is center how you're feeling in that moment after you've hurt us. And what happens when you start crying is that you are letting us know that you're feeling guilty, sad, angry, any of those emotions, and suddenly you are centering yourself, and this conversation can go no further. So what happens when you're crying is you're not listening to us. You are feeling your emotions in that moment and you're working them through. And you can do that on your own time, but not while we're actively hurting. We are in distress, and when you are crying, you're not listening to our needs. You're not tending to our needs. You are tending to your own. And you are doing that in front of a person of color, and you are taking up space. And now they have to take time off. We have to take up time off from our hurt to listen to your tears and your crying and your sobbing and your whimpering. And it is pathetic. And it is so harmful because you're letting us know that you feel like your emotions are more important in that moment. I don't care what your thoughts are. I don't care if you're like, no, I care about our emotions. No, because once you start crying, you are centering your emotions. You don't care about us. I know a lot of y'all are like, but I get super emotional. I cry over little things. Like, how can I control this? Suck it up. Suck it the fuck up. Trust me, you can. I've had to do it. After microaggression and racist remark, I've had to suck it up while I watch white people cry because they feel bad that they've hurt me, but I didn't even get the chance to cry about how hurt I was. It's not okay for you to start crying, because why is your hurt more important than mine? Why do you get to process your hurt after you hurt me? It's not okay. Comments like these make me genuinely concerned because y'all are aware that your white tears are damaging and dangerous, but you guys would still cry. And if you can't take responsibility for your own actions without crying, don't be around people of color. Don't put us in harm's way.
Now, the words of these palm color ladies in these videos echo a sentiment shared by many people of color and Black people. The audacity of palm color women to weaponize their tears as a means of asserting power and privilege. From frivolous complaints to dangerous encounters with law enforcement, palm color women often leverage their perceived innocence and vulnerability to evade accountability and perpetuate harm. Now, the audacity displayed by palm color women in these situations is staggering. Despite their role in perpetuating systems of oppression, they continue to center themselves in discussions of feminism and social justice, often at the expense of marginalized voices. And when confronted with their complicity, they resort to tears as a shield against accountability, further marginalizing those who dare to challenge them. Now, it's important to acknowledge the double standard at play when it comes to the expression of emotion. While palm color women's tears are often met with sympathy and leniency, the anger and frustration of Black people and people of color are dismissed or vilified. Now, this disparity in treatment reflects broader power dynamics and underscores the urgency of dismantling systems of WS. Now, the weaponization of palm color women's tears is a troubling manifestation of privilege and entitlement. It's imperative that we confront this behavior head-on and refuse to tolerate the manipulation and harm it perpetuates. Now, the challenge and responsibility of any person who has a one-up or one-down identity, with one identity that is privileged and another that is oppressed, is to recognize when their privileged identity is the operating norm. Now, as Johnson reminds us, when it comes to privilege, it doesn't matter who we really are. What matters is who other people think we are. Now, palm color women having one up or one down identities as palm color and as women must recognize the power that comes with their palm coloredness. Recognizing privilege means acknowledging that our societal norms allow palm color women to toggle their identities, meaning they can choose to be a woman and choose to be palm color. Now, combining these two social identities, palm color women can both helpless without the helplessness being a reflection of all palm color people, and powerful by occupying a position of power as any palm color person. We as Black women and women of color do not have the option of toggling our identities in this manner. When a woman of color or a Black woman acts, her actions at some level reflect upon her racial community, and she cannot centrifuge her racial identity from her womanhood. Now, the intersection of race and femininity is a complex and multifaceted topic that has received increasing attention in recent years. Research has shown that the actions of Black women and women of color are perceived differently than those of palm color women in the same context. Black women or women of color are more likely to experience harassment, for example, and may be more vulnerable to other forms of violence and abuse due to the juxtaposition of their race and gender identities. Now, studies have also shown that Black women and women of color often face unique challenges and discrimination due to this intersection of race and gender. For example, a nationally representative survey found that Black and Latina women are likely to receive less support after reporting harassment than palm color counterparts. Further, palm color women are less likely to give aid to Black women or women of color at risk for assault. Now, palm color women, in contrast, may be more likely to be able to rely on their gender to protect them from certain types of violence and harassment, while Black women and women of color may be vulnerable to these types of harms due to their race. Now, these are, however, not the only ways that race and gender intersect. The knowledge that an individual develops growing up socialized as palm color results in an understanding that palm coloredness grants power that others of different races cannot easily access. So growing up female and palm color, an individual will have observed a difference granted to specific emotional states that are unique to her race and gender. Now, this societal difference provides palm color women with a set of tools that can be used to garner sympathy in high-risk situations, shielding her physically and mentally from external threats. Now, these tools of sympathy and protection of the psyche are then wielded consciously or unconsciously in moments where the usher finds herself under physical threat or emotional stress. Recent examples of how palm color women have attempted successfully and unsuccessfully to use their palm coloredness and their femaleness to protect themselves from perceived threats by Black people or people of color have become widely available in the media. These scenarios have emerged in a spectrum of examples, from police encounters in which a palm color woman attempts to blame shift her shoplifting crime onto a Black woman, to an incident in which a palm color woman attempts to have a Black man arrested after he asks her to leash her dog while bird watching. Indeed, many people of color and black people report experiencing more racial aggression from palm color women than palm color men. Now, historically, black women have been denied the femininity by society and are not afforded the same protection as palm color women. Now, palm color women have the ability to weaponize their pain and claim victimhood in situations where they feel threatened, an option that has not been accessible for black women and women of color. Certainly, other types of identities will also moderate this ability, e.g. age, income, religion, but all of these things being equal, race and gender typically advantage palm color women in these situations. Now, this use of vulnerability has been described as a staple of palm color feminism, leading to discussions about toxic femininity, whereby patriarchal social norms are enacted by palm color women to gain power in certain situations. Now, underscoring feminine stereotypes about weakness and vulnerability can help enlist assistance by more powerful actors, although it can be used to enlist support for important issues, as in the Me Too movement. The cost of this kind of enactment is the exclusion and alienation of black women and women of color whose cultural concept of femininity may be less inclusive of weakness or vulnerability. The idea of the palm color woman who is seen as a victim in need of protection has been used in the past to justify aggression, anger, and violence toward black people and people of color. Historically, a colonial era pretext for subjugation and violence by palm color men against black people or people of color has been protection of the damsel in distress. One of the most galvanizing historic examples of such aggression is the 1955 unaliving of Y.Tea, a 14-year-old African-American boy who was horrifically unalived by palm color men after being falsely accused of whistling at a palm color woman. Now, this type of violence was not uncommon in the segregated South in that era. However, in this instance, the widely publicized photos of his mutilated body resulted in such national notoriety. To this day, the commemoration markers of his unaliving are continuously vandalized. Likewise, the Tulsa race unaliving, leading to the destruction of Black Wall Street, Greenwood, and unalivings of up to 300 people, was caused by a palm color female elevator operator who was upset by a black man. Now, the Oklahoma Historical Society determined that the cause of her distress is that he stepped on her toe. The National Guard assisted in the destruction of the town. Many are shocked to learn that the same weaponization of palm color femininity reaches into the present day, when in 2020, as previously noted, a palm color woman made a calculated call to 911 to punish a black man who was birdwatching in New York Central Park. On the call, she started screaming and said that an African-American man was threatening her life after he merely asked her to leash her dog. Before calling the police, she made sure to threaten him with what they both knew was an invitation to a potentially lethal police confrontation, in a powerful example of the way palm color women can arm themselves with their identity. We can go on and on, but we have finally come to the end of the video. What do you have to say? Share your thoughts as well in the comment section. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.